For centuries, the ultra-wealthy operated within a shared terrestrial reality. They accumulated sovereign territory, manipulated global supply chains, and built financial monopolies on the same concrete soil as the baseline population. But in the mid-2020s, a quiet, tectonic shift occurred within the top 0.001%. Macroeconomic data reveals that for the first time in human history, traditional capital accumulation has hit a wall of diminishing returns. The world's primary architects realized that Earth, with its escalating geopolitical volatility, climate instability, and biological constraints, is becoming an inefficient sandbox. Two opposing philosophies have emerged to solve the ultimate problem of human limitation. Jeff Bezos looks inward, seeking to master the biological software of the human body. Elon Musk looks outward, seeking to conquer the physical software of space. This is not a standard billionaire rivalry or a race for vanity metrics, it is a calculated, multi-billion-dollar race to build the ultimate exit strategy for global capital. To understand this silent war, one must look at the structural design of their respective empires through the lens of capital preservation. Elon Musk's SpaceX is built on the premise of the vertical exit. His thesis treats Earth as a sinking ship with a terminal expiration date. By establishing a sovereign colony on Mars, Musk is not trying to save humanity as a whole, he is building a secondary operating system for civilization, a literal backup drive for human intelligence, accessible only to those who can afford the transactional cost of the voyage. Conversely, Jeff Bezos operates on the premise of the biological shield. His primary vehicle, Altos Labs, backed by an unprecedented $3 billion in seed funding, aims to turn the human body into an un-collapsible fortress. Bezos's thesis is that if you can stabilize the cellular architecture, the external collapse of the planet becomes irrelevant. While Musk builds an ark to flee the burning house, Bezos is buying the physics engine of the house itself, attempting to make his own timeline permanent. Musk's vision of a multiplanetary species sounds like classical science fiction, but the systemic financial reality is deeply Tech-Noir. Let us look at the raw logistics data. In 2026, SpaceX's Starship is rapidly monopolizing orbital logistics, driving the cost per kilogram to low Earth orbit down toward a projected $99. But dynamic scaling models reveal a darker truth: a self-sustaining Mars colony requires over 1 million tons of cargo. At current capital flows, the financing of this infrastructure cannot rely on government grants, it will rely on the absolute privateering of Mars itself. If civilization fractures, Mars becomes the ultimate corporate state. Millions of miles away from Western regulatory bodies, the FDA, or traditional constitutional law, a Martian colony would operate under absolute technical sovereignty. The air you breathe, the microfluidic water loops you consume, and the radiation shielding protecting your DNA would be proprietary property owned by a centralized computational network. In Musk's sandbox, survival is not a human right, it is a subscription service. The baseline population remains bounded by Earth's gravity, while a new class of spacefaring capital moves off-world, completely detached from the social contracts of old history. But Musk's vertical exit requires a parallel technology to ensure total operational compliance: Neuralink. To understand why this is a core economic asset, we must analyze the data from Neuralink's human trials. What began as a medical device to bridge neurological gaps has evolved into a bandwidth optimization platform. In a Martian environment where every atmospheric decision is a matter of life or death, human error is an unacceptable systemic risk. By analyzing behavioral datasets from automated logistics networks, data scientists project that human cognitive lag is the ultimate bottleneck in deep space colonization. Neuralink solves this by hardwiring the brain's Sub-Cortex directly into private neural networks. Thoughts, fear responses, and labor output can be mathematically calibrated in real time. For the baseline worker on Mars, descent becomes a software glitch that can be patched remotely. The human mind is no longer a sacred sanctuary of free will, it is reduced to a biodigital terminal, fully integrated into the corporate logistics of the off-world elite. While Musk wires the mind and targets the stars, Bezos is automating the biological sandbox back on Earth. Through Altos Labs, the mathematical objective is to master cellular reprogramming via Yamanaka factors, forcing specialized, aging cells backward in time into an embryonic state of infinite potential. But the dark laboratory data behind this research reveals a chilling risk. Peer-reviewed studies on prematurely aging mice show that while lifespan can be extended by over 35%, running the cellular reset clock just a fraction of a second too long causes the subject's immune system to collapse, generating aggressive, unprogrammed tumors known as teratomas. To mitigate this, Bezos's sandbox relies on advanced AI-driven epigenetic clocks to run billions of predictive simulations on the human genome before human integration. They are building a world where the elite do not need to flee to a cold, radiation-swept red planet. Instead, they will live in ultra-secure, Tech-Noir sanctuaries on Earth. Look at the expanding legal frameworks of ZEDEs, Zones for Economic Development and Employment, in Rotan, Honduras. These are sovereign, private corporate cities with their own courts and regulatory frameworks. By using these sandboxes, the elite pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to receive unapproved CRISPR gene therapies, telomere extensions, and unregulated stem cell regenerations in complete regulatory arbitrage, shielded by private military security. The financial mechanics supporting both multi-billion-dollar empires require a massive, continuous harvest of baseline human resources. This is where the mathematical loop closes. To fund the infinite lifespan research of Altos Labs, Bezos relies on the invisible data layers generated by billions of everyday consumers moving through the global Amazon ecosystem. Every click, every smart home voice recording from Alexa, and every private medical data point from Amazon Clinic fed into AWS cloud servers is systematically processed to train the predictive models of the elite's epigenetic clocks. Let us look at the macro data. The global blood plasma market is projected to breach $45 billion. Startups like Ambrosia have already proven the market demand, historically charging wealthy clients $8,000 for a single liter of young human plasma under the science of heterochronic parabiosis. The biological youth of lower-income demographics is no longer a natural state, it is systematically harvested, converted into a transactional asset, and injected into aging capital. The baseline population is being utilized as a vast computing cluster, harvesting their data, labor, and blood to fund the ultimate escape vectors of the sovereign elite. Throughout history, mortality was the only flawless equalizer. Death settled the ledger at the exact same finish line for both the king and the peasant. No matter how many oil fields Rockefeller owned, or how much capital BlackRock and Vanguard consolidated, they could never buy an escape from time. The convergence of Bezos's biological shield and Musk's vertical exit changes this foundational equation forever. If we extrapolate current investment trajectories, wealth will no longer be an external asset stored in bank vaults, it will translate directly into physiological lifespan and cognitive endurance. Predictive demographic models suggest a terrifying societal split within the next century. Society risks fracturing into two distinct biological classes, an immortal, spacefaring elite with unlimited time and astronomical reach to consolidate systemic power across generations, and a baseline population whose lifespans remain bounded by nature, whose economic utility is automated away by AI, and whose biological data is systematically harvested. When survival, cognitive capacity, and spatial mobility become discretionary expenses, the moral foundation of human civilization collapses entirely. We are no longer looking at a standard corporate landscape or a harmless billionaire space race. The empires of Blue Origin, SpaceX, Altos Labs, and Neuralink are constructing a permanent, multi-generational matrix of absolute control. One faction is mastering the data science of the genome to freeze the flow of time, the other is mastering the orbital logistics of the solar system and brain-computer interfaces to control the expansion of space and consciousness. The global order is being rewritten by data and capital. Whoever rules time, space, and thoughts rules everything. Welcome to the end of human history, where your planet is a corporate sandbox, your biology is intellectual property, your mind is a connected terminal, and your death is simply a line of code they chose not to patch. Subscribe to Wealth Wisdom Man, and unlock the clinical matrix of the hidden elite.